A road trip is exactly what you make of it. Tarmac that becomes a canvas for your own story. It can be a wild chase towards the horizon or a quiet ride through your own thoughts. Every turn, every stop, every song on the radio is all yours to shape. In the end, it's not about the miles that matter, but how you choose to live them. I'm Matthew, and recently I returned from Europe in my 1974 Audi 80. What was meant to be a family holiday turned into one of the biggest adventures of my life so far. And here's the story of how the trip unfolded. Okay, it's recording. Right, Vista. Here we go. Right from a young age, I've always been into cars, whether it's playing on cars on the playmats all the way through to racing nitro cars at secondary school, and the appeal was always there. I then turned 17 and started to learn to drive, and instantly I thought I'd quite like something which is a bit rawer than a new car, something where I really feel like I'm the driver. And lo and behold, I came across a 1989 Renault 5 that I instantly fell in love with and bought. Fast forward a few months, I'd passed my test in it and done thousands of miles, and 2 years later, I was then scrolling through eBay, and lo and behold, the Audi came up. Now, I wasn't looking for an Audi in particular, I was just looking for something different, but it was love at first sight again. The colour, the condition, being a bit patinaed, and also just the interior combination, it was so up my street. So I had a quick look elsewhere, and lo and behold, they're quite rare. You can't really get them. So I instantly put a bid on it, and lo and behold, the weekend later, I was going up to collect it. In the 2 years of ownership up until the road trip, there's been quite a few things that have had to be done. So bits like the carburettor needed redoing, bits like the cooling system needed completely redoing, and also other things like the timing belt, etc. But that's what you kind of expect on a car at 51 years old. In just over a month's time, I'll be taking this 1974 Audi 80 to the south of France from my home in South Warwickshire. But before that, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. The major thing was rust. And a few months before the road trip, I thought, right, if I want to have a completely safe trip where I know nothing's going to happen with the car, we need to get on with the rust. So I spent thousands on having the rust completed, and the car isn't completely done yet. There's still body panels and other parts that need doing, but I've done all the structural work, which is the main thing. Other things that I had to do again, service items like the brakes, the wheel bearings, and also, which we'll come back onto in a second, and also other things like oil changes, etc. And it was a rush because we had problems with the brakes. Just managed to get the bolt off on the one that was not cooperating. It's going to be a late one tonight. I'm probably going to be here until about 10. But I've just got no choice now. Got to get it done, unfortunately. It wasn't until about 2 days before that the car was finished. Saturday, the 30th of August, or the 31st. Woke up early in the morning and got into the car, and lo and behold, the first thing that happened was it was struggling to start, which was a real blow when I'd done so much work on it and spent so much time on it. Anyway, we eventually got it started and soon started making our way down to the Folkestone, and the car behaved perfectly. It drove the 150 miles with absolutely no issues at all, and it was really quite a pleasant driving experience. We got onto the tunnel and got out the other side, and we then stopped about an hour into France for some lunch. We filled the car up for the first time, which again was quite something, doing about 200, 300 miles on one tank of fuel, and lo and behold, then continued on the trip. And that's when things went downhill. I was overtaking on the motorway at about 80 miles per hour, which, yes, is quite something for a classic car, but it should be able to do that. All of a sudden, when I was overtaking, there was the biggest bang I have ever heard. The whole of the back of the car just seemed to slump on its bum. Now, at first, I didn't really know what was going on. I think I just entered a panic mode and I was just making sure I could stop the car safely, which was also a bit of a mission. And I then pulled over to the side of the road or on the side of the motorway and got out to have a look at the work. And it wasn't a pretty sight. The back wheel, which should be obviously on squares, the car was at a complete angle and stuck in the wheel well. And at first I thought, okay, the wheel's come off. Not a big deal. Obviously, maybe I've forgotten to do the nuts up to a certain torque, but okay, we can deal with that. So me and my co-driver, we got the jack out at the side of the road, got everything, all the warning stuff out that you need in France, and we lifted the car up. And as I was pulling the back wheel off, literally everything came with it. The wheel drum or the brake drum came with it, bits of metal filings, etc. And it's safe to say underneath was an absolute mangled mess. And that was a heart-stopping moment. The worst thing was, and looking back at this now, is the wheel bearing is such a simple thing, but it can completely immobilize a car, which is exactly what had happened here. So our options were pretty limited at this point. Whatever we needed to do, we had to get the car towed. So we called the recovery and they came and fetched us and took us to a nearby town called Arras. Now, on France, on a Saturday, there's not much going on. Most places are closed and they really do respect weekends. So we got dropped off in the middle of the city near a few garages that apparently the driver said that could help. Now we went to one garage, which was one of the only ones open on that day, walked in and said, look, we really need help. The car's broken. We really want to get to the south of France and we just need someone to fix it. We think it's the wheel bearing. And it was pretty much a no from the start. It was difficult because, in my respect, a wheel bearing is a wheel bearing. The same technology is on a new Polo as it is on an old Audi 80. So I really struggled to kind of understand why. But the issue was the expertise and also the parts that were needed. In France, the Audi isn't a common car, and therefore trying to get the parts would have taken 3 to 4 days, and we simply didn't have that time. Time was then getting on and we were running out of ideas. And I think one of the biggest lessons from this is not having European breakdown cover, which I put my hands up and say that is completely my fault. I shouldn't have even gone on the trip without considering it. But there was a backstory to that, in that all the companies that I did speak to try and get quotes from were saying, has the car got an MOT? I said no, and they were like, we can't give you breakdown. But now that in the end cost us over €1,000 when trying to tow the car to the overnight stop, because I didn't want to leave the car in Arras. It wasn't the nicest of places, and I just had visions of coming back to the car with nothing on it in the morning. So about 8 o'clock at night, we got the car back onto a trailer, which we ordered, and lo and behold, we were making our way down south to Rennes. We arrived at about 2 o'clock in the morning and unloaded the car trailer, which at this point, I think adrenaline was keeping me going. I cannot believe I managed to do a 5 o'clock to a 10 o'clock on another day. It really was quite something, but we made it. But in the meantime, I was speaking to a couple of friends that I'd met, or not actually met properly, at Café de Machine, which is a car place in the UK. Now, I was there a few weeks ago or months ago with the Audi. It was German nights, and lo and behold, I was coming back from work and I thought, yeah, I'll just pop in for an hour or so, see what's going on. Now, it wasn't actually that quite busy, but I met a couple of friends there and had a good evening. Now, little to my knowledge, there were 2 German guys there who took a look at the car and was trying to locate the owner. Now, at first, they could not find me because I was with friends, but through the power of social media, they managed to track me down afterwards, which in hindsight was a blessing, because if it wasn't for them, then the car wouldn't be on the back of this trailer right now. So we messaged on Instagram for quite a bit over those few months, and they were really interested about the Audi and kind of really liked the story. And it was them who I thought, these are the only people that could help me now. And I'd actually arranged to see them on the way through. So it made perfect sense to contact them. And it's safe to say that the response that I heard from them was probably the best news that I'd had all of that day. It was quite simply, get the car to Germany and we can help you get it back on the road and you can stay here as long as you want, which, two random strangers at this point, which of one of them I'd only met once. That was a very unique position to be in. But I think that just shows one thing, is the power of others and the power of people and helping each other. Because I think without that, I'd still be in a pretty awkward situation right now. So we had arranged to take the car to Germany. We had this trailer and this car with my brother's series on, so we took the series off the next day in France and put the Audi on, and we drove it all the way to Germany. It took a while to fix the car. One of the main reasons being is that there were issues with the stub axle. Now, the axle on the Audi 80 is a solid beam that goes back and then it splits and you've got two stub axles on either side. And that, in hindsight, makes it very easy for maintenance, because if something goes wrong with the stub axle, you can just unbolt one and put one back on. Now, the issue was here is that the bearing had got so hot when it exploded that the housing had actually welded itself onto the stub axle, which we didn't quite realise at first. The bonus is with VAG products like the Audi is that they all share common parts, so we could very quickly source a new stub axle and new bearings in no time. But what stood out to me the most was the power of people. I'd never met these guys properly until this point, and I'd suddenly landed on their doorstep with a car and just with myself. And they didn't just take me in and just make me feel welcome. They introduced me to their friends, they introduced me to their culture, and they gave me an experience that I would never forget. What was also really, really nice to see was how the community came together. Now, what I mean by that is that they knew many, many car people who could do some fantastic things, and these people all came together and helped to try and fix the Audi. And lo and behold, a week and a half later, it was fixed. Now, it was fixed on the Friday and I went for a drive over the weekend, but when I got back, I noticed one of the brakes at the back was very hot, one of the drums, which wasn't great because heat and bearings mean that the same thing would probably going to happen again. So I spoke to my friends, and lo and behold, an hour later, we had the car jacked up and the wheel off, and we were testing it out. And what had happened is that the brake line had got crushed, or the flexible brake line, which means that when fluid was going through, the brake would apply absolutely fine. But when fluid was coming back, when you lifted off the brake, there was no release, so the brake was effectively stuck on. Now, at this point, it was a Saturday, meaning any new parts wouldn't be at least there until Tuesday, and they were also working in the week. So we had to come to the eureka idea of making a new brake line, which I must admit, when I first heard the concept, I almost laughed. I thought, wow, how could you possibly do this without tools? But lo and behold, they managed to build one. And not just one that worked, one that then lasted 3,500 miles, which is a testament to the craftsmanship and also the effort they put into it. So, by then it was too late to carry it on to France. It was about late on Tuesday, and it wasn't realistic to drive another 11 hours, and something could happen again. So when I spoke to my friends and said, look, what can I do? They suggested doing a little tour around southern Germany and going to the Black Forest and also to Luxembourg. So I spent the remainder of the time doing exactly that. Driving about 3 hours a day to different locations, going to do cities, going to do mountain ranges, going to do forests, and just having a really, really nice time exploring. And I'm thrilled to say that the Audi excelled itself. It managed those 3,500 miles with no issues at all. I even took it up mountain passes, so up the Honeck Pass in France, which was an amazing experience. And again, no issues of climbing for about 45 minutes at a very strong angle. And then it was time to come home, which at that point I didn't really want to do. Yes, it had been a rough start, but the amount of people that I'd met, the fun that I'd had, and also the real friendships that I'd built were really quite an experience, something that I'll never forget. On Friday, my family and I were planning to meet in Rem, which was the original overnight stop on the way. So I drove to Rem and met with the family, and on Saturday we all made it back up to the Eurotunnel and back to the UK.
Oh, there he is. Hello, darling. Oh my goodness, lovely. Oh.
Yeah, that's smoking.
Hello.
Well, it's fine. It's smoky when it's
Hi, Matthew.
A pure road trip is one where you don't know which path you'll take, where the journey writes its own story. You can plan every turn, every stop, every destination, but the truth is the road decides for you. I set out chasing adventure, chasing that feeling of complete freedom, of leaving everything familiar behind. I wanted the open road, the unknown, and the sense that anything could happen. But just 1 hour into Europe, the car gave up. The dream ended right there on the roadside. I remember sitting there, watching cars fly past, wondering if this was how it was all going to end. That helpless silence hit hard. And yet, that moment, that breakdown, became the start of something completely unexpected. 2 friends, people that I barely knew at the time, stepped in when no one else would. They didn't have to help, but they did. They gave their time, their tools, and even a place to stay. They turned what felt like a failure into hope, what felt like an ending into a beginning. In those days, I realised how powerful kindness can be, how people you've only just met can make you feel like you belong. It reminded me that a road trip isn't about the distance you travel, but about the people who keep you moving, even when everything else stops. That moment changed me. It taught me that sometimes the worst days become the most meaningful ones. That the real beauty of travel isn't everything going right, but in the people who show up when it doesn't. What started as a breakdown became a reminder that for every wrong turn, every setback can lead you somewhere better. Because the road always knows where it's taking you, even when you don't.